Next tonight to a more than 30-year-old case, a sexual assault of an 11-year-old girl. The suspect identified but not questioned for decades.
And new tonight, I-Team investigator Kylie McGivern brings us to Brevard County, where the girl, who's now a woman, speaks out seeking justice. But we do want to warn you, some of the details may be difficult to hear.
How would you describe you at around 11 years old?
I was pretty happy. I had a very normal, happy friend group in my neighborhood. Like, I was a good kid. I got good grades. And then this happened, and I don't know.
What happened, detailed in a Melbourne Police Department report from 1990, the sexual assault of 11-year-old Liz Bradshaw. The suspect, a man named Brian, the brother of her mom's boyfriend. Because he was never charged, we are not using his full name.
It was after my dad died. I don't ever remember being that happy kid again. Brian would regularly get drunk at the bar down the street from our house and call and ask if he could come sleep it off, which is what happened this time, only he didn't sleep it off.
Take all the time you need.
The police report details a night she will never forget.
I requested the records from the night, and when I got them, I was so disgusted. Offense number 1, sexual battery. I woke up to him pushing me into the bed. How I woke up to him trying to insert himself and his hands into me. After Brian left the house, I went and I woke my mom and Paul up. Paul's exact words were, "I'm gonna effing kill him."
The report shows officers collected pink sheets, a blue washcloth, peach blanket, white nightshirt, and green underwear.
The police came out, went to the hospital, and I did everything you're supposed to do. And I don't understand how this isn't enough evidence.
Paul, her mom's boyfriend, killed himself months later.
And then I was told that Brian had killed himself.
For more than 30 years, she thought Brian was dead. That's what a family member told her. Then in October 2022, after a trip to the zoo with her grandson.
Normally we would stop on the way home at the Wawa, and I was waiting to order, and I saw him. It was like I understood fight or flight in that moment, and I flew. I snatched my grandson up and I sat in my truck and I cried. And I kept telling myself, like, no, Liz, you're crazy, he's dead, this isn't real. Then when I got home, I started to Google. I wanted to find his obituary, and it doesn't exist because he's alive. So I went into the Brevard County Clerk of Court's website, and I found where he had never been charged. Right here on the paperwork that the suspect was not located or contacted, and that's where it ends.
But it's where Bradshaw's search for answers begins.
I just want accountability for what happened and what was done.
Emails shared with the I-Team show Bradshaw contacted state representatives, the Attorney General's office, and the state attorney's office.
The basic consensus is, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Good luck. I can't help you.
FDLE processed her rape kit in 11 months. Semen was found on Bradshaw's underwear and nightgown. At the end of the report, addressed to the then chief of the Melbourne Police Department, it said the evidence would be returned at the earliest opportunity. But police told Bradshaw
the physical evidence was purged without record. There was no question who it was. He's named in the report.
We called, emailed, and went to the Melbourne Police Department to interview Chief David Gillespie. He had spoken with Bradshaw earlier that same day.
Hi, I'm Chief David Gillespie.
And they said the chief wanted to see me. He was empathetic, and that's nice. I don't need empathy. The chief even said there's no denying what happened to me, but there's also no accountability for it, and that's the problem. I left pretty angry. Not surprised, though. I've been asking for 7 months now. I was patient. I tried to give them all the leeway to do their jobs.
The subscriber you have dialed is not in service.
We tried calling Brian, and finally, wrote him a letter outlining Bradshaw's allegations, giving him every opportunity to respond. He never did. Police Chief Gillespie would not agree to an interview, but said in a statement after Bradshaw contacted them in October, they assigned a detective to the case. They attempted to gather evidence and interviewed the suspect, who denied involvement. In January, they presented the case to the state attorney's office. That office declined to prosecute and declined an interview. In an emailed statement, a spokesperson wrote that they share the victim's disappointment in not being able to bring this offender to trial, adding that there was no legal justification for the more than 30-year delay in presenting the case when the offender was known to law enforcement and was available to be arrested.
I am going to be as loud as possible until they do what's right, because this is just not okay.
The Melbourne police chief told us they're conducting an audit that will provide details into the investigation and the chain of custody of the evidence. We plan to follow up when those results become available. You can read the full statements from Melbourne Police and Brevard County's State Attorney's Office on abcactionnews.com. With photojournalist Randy Wright, I'm I-Team investigator Kylie McGivern, taking action for you.
And we're continuing with this topic tonight at 11. The I-Team sits down with a former state prosecutor to talk about how technology and state laws have evolved in recent years.
Meanwhile, if you or someone you know is a victim of sexual assault, there are resources available. The Florida Council Against Sexual Violence hotline is 1-888-956-7273. And for the National Suicide Crisis Lifeline, please just dial 988.